Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to take a look at another brand new addition to the Forza series, which is this Volkswagen SP-2. As usual, to unlock this new car, all you have to do is complete 20 points of this week's festival playlist, which is the autumn season, which as you can see I've done by doing the trial and 2 event lab events, as well as the 4 monthly rivals at the beginning of the series. To be honest though, before this was confirmed as coming to the game, I had never actually heard of this little Volkswagen SP-2 before, but when I first saw it I immediately loved it, not just because I thought it looked brilliant, but apparently this tiny Volkswagen was made in Brazil in the 70s. There is though some debate as to what the SP actually stands for. It seems to be either sports prototype or special project or something along those lines basically. And like a lot of older VWs, it has a tiny little engine, just 1.7 litres and only producing 75 horsepower, but given it weighs just 890 kilos, it was able to reach 90 miles per hour before the end of the first straight at Petroleum Park here. It is by no means though a fast car, and is therefore in D-Class with a rating of just 252 from standard. But I always love these tiny, really light cars that don't actually need more than 75 horsepower. So the Volkswagen may not have a large number of horsepower, but it does have a large number of manufacturer colours. There's this orangey yellow, a more yellowy yellow, and an even more yellowy yellow that's slightly pastel-y. There's a dark blue, a rather nice lighter blue, a white, an orange, 2 greens, and a red, although that kind of hides the red accent down the side. You may also have noticed that there are advanced painting groups, and as you might expect, Group 1 is the main body, and Group 2 is the stripes on the side, although they then don't match the SP2 badge on the back, so that's kind of a shame, I think. So what I'm actually going to do is go for that green. There's no shortage of further customization or upgrades either. There are several engine swaps, a flat 4 turbo, a flat 4 turbo, a flat 4 racing engine, a flat 6, which must be from a Porsche of some kind, and a flat 4 turbo rally engine. Then you will of course also have your all-wheel drive conversions and aspiration conversions, but most excitingly there is a wide body, which adds these sort of bolt-on arches, which are rather cool. That's not all for visual mods though. There are a couple of Forza front aero options. There's a really cool one with spotlights, there's a sort of more standard one, and there's a Volkswagen one which removes the bumper. So I'm going to go with the spotlights for now, and it's the same at the rear. We've got the option of a spare wheel, or a ducktail, or that. So for the time being, let's put the spare wheel on. I think that looks rather cool. Turn it into a bit of a rally build. There's also a rear bumper delete option, and most importantly, mud flaps. And we can even put little air intakes for getting air into the cabin on the roof. That looks absolutely fantastic. I think we're ready to go on the Baja. Then of course we have all of our usual tyre compounds, so to go with that look, let's give it some off-road tyres for now and make them full width, which of course we can do. That looks more and more incredible as we go. Then you have your usual clutch, transmission, driveline and diff options, as well as your usual brakes, suspension, anti-roll bars, roll cage, and of course weight reduction, which can bring weight down to 800 kilos, but it brings it down way below that if you haven't done those visual mods, I think to about 750 or so, which is so light that you'd have to employ somebody to sit on it in windy weather so it doesn't blow away, to steal an expression from Top Gear. And then of course you also have all of your usual engine upgrades. But I think this thing looks absolutely incredible. I then went and applied a B-Class Purist tune from K1Z Bard, which unfortunately meant not having any of the brilliant visual mods on the car anymore, and it had anti-lag, although it would appear there was another version without anti-lag that I missed, so I might potentially swap the tunes around at some point. Anyway, this tune brought power up to 244 horsepower and weight down to 749 kilos, which is incredibly light. I then joined for the final race of an adventure at the Archer Moulay circuit, where there was one other Volkswagen SP-2 driven by cat food. I made my way up to 4th place, and then at the beginning of the second lap was gifted a place by the Mercedes and Nissan Suru, killing one another on the end of the straight. The Mercedes then also killed me slightly, which allowed the other SP2 past, although we then finished side by side in the two SP2s, which was pretty incredible for the first race. That race though was total chaos, and still only set to 2 laps in game, so at this point it was still hard to say if the car was any good or not. So I headed into another adventure, starting at the Gran Pantano sprint, which I thought the VW would struggle for straight line speed on. It wasn't really much of a problem though. I very quickly found myself in 3rd place, and eventually the cars in front both died, and I was gifted the lead, which I kept until the end, with cat food again right behind me. Next up was the Emerald circuit, where I was given a lovely pole position, and apart from being briefly overtaken by an Autozam and messing up the Death Pebble chicane on the first lap, I had a relatively boring race out in the lead, and ended up winning by 1,000,000 miles. And finally, the 3rd race took us to the Vista Del Mar sprint, where I decided to not bother slowing down for the tight left-hander, and threw away any chances of another win, this time crossing the line again in 2nd place after outrunning cat food in the Frint to the Spinach line at the end. This tune then had been incredible fun to drive, and performed pretty well as well, getting a win and a couple of 2nd place finishes. I will then be keeping this tune on the car, and potentially using the SP2 in Horizon Open again. And that is going to do it for today's video, taking a first look at the new Volkswagen SP2 here on Forza Horizon 5. Despite not being aware of this thing before it was added to the game, I think it is an unbelievably cool little Volkswagen. It comes in an incredible selection of manufacturer colours, and has some awesome looking visual mods, as well as being pretty decent in B-Class as well. I may even have to go and get another one so I can put all the really cool visual mods on one of them and keep the B-Class tune on the other, because I did really enjoy racing this in Open. As ever though, do let me know your thoughts on this brand new addition to the Forza series, but for today's video that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next one very soon.